Hi students and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I am streaming to you live from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe. I hope everybody has had a fantastic week and is looking forward to a nice relaxing weekend. Hi Pachu, hi Jancy Jose, hi Burhan. SK Samantha, good to see you. Satisfying times. Welcome everyone to this session of IELTS focusing on Task 1 diagram writing for the academic version of the exam. Task 1 is clearly different between the academic and the general. Since this is our academic English help channel, of course we're focusing on the academic. Materials. This question comes from our website, aehelp.com, for academic IELTS. And if you are learning for the general version of the exam, check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's general IELTS help.com. I'll show you the websites real quick so you know what to look for. This is our academic website here. Click that red button to join. After you do, you have a My Student account with lots and lots of goodies to help you pass the test. 6 original exams, computer-based versions, 100 hours of video lessons, and a fully interactive course. Same idea for the general. Click that red button with that green background to join us at gieltshelp.com. Also, download our app for the academic. It integrates with the website. You can use it conveniently on your phone or tablet. Search for Academic IELTS Help. In your Play Store, look for our logo. Hi, Tarun. Namaste to you as well. If you have questions, comments, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. Ankit, go ahead, ask your question. You can also get our books in soft or hard copy from Amazon. Look for AE Helps Academic IELTS or GE Helps General IELTS, and you will find our books. Now let's take a look at our Task 1 question for today. I will give you strategies, step by step, how to do Task 1 in the 20 minutes. You should spend 20 minutes on this task. The diagram below shows the steps in the water cycle. Summarize the main information and make comparisons where relevant. You should write at least 150 words. It means 150 words minimum for task completion. Most high band Task 1 essays, band 7.5, band 8, band 9, they're closer to 200 words, 220 words, so keep that in mind, okay? Ankit, you can also send your question to my email, adrian@aehelp.com. Yes, Danish, this is the task that you requested. Absolutely. Yes, it is. Yes. That's why I put it in for today. I wanted to do a Task 1 anyway, so I thought it was a good match. Okay. So, students, what's our first step? Here's our diagram. We can look at it. Okay. What is our first step? So we read the question carefully. Thank you, Prabjot. I appreciate that feedback. Hi, Eugen. So Tuguldur says the following diagram illustrates the process of water recycling, kind of, Tuguldur. Roshni says, let's paraphrase this first with some details. Okay, that sounds like a plan. Pachu says, read, understand the question. We've done that. So Amar and Danish and White Dove all agree that it's paraphrasing. Danish says, remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just paraphrasing, it's paraphrasing with details. So let's paraphrase this question. And the paraphrase with the details is the first sentence of your overview. This is an expository essay. It means that you're explaining what you see. You're not giving your opinion. Expository essays seek to explain, express information. So the diagram, what kind of a diagram is this? Anybody know what type of a diagram we would call this? So you have some arrows. You have arrows here, evaporation. You have the sunshine. You have some more arrows, condensation. So what kind of a diagram is this? Pachu says it's a cyclic diagram. That's okay. Yeah, cyclic is a good word. It's also referred to, it's scientific, White Dove, yes. Beck Odilov says it's a process. It's a process. Yeah, the most common way that you'll hear this is it's a process diagram. So the process diagram shows, what does it show? It shows what? So the process diagram shows or depicts. Let's use a different word than the question. The question says shows, so let's say depicts. Depicts is a very good word because it includes the idea of picture. Okay, so D meaning out and picked, like picture. Okay, so the process diagram depicts the hydrolytic cycle. Okay, if we want to get really fancy, this is actually called scientifically the hydrolytic cycle. Okay, and the cycle, that shows that it's cyclical. But what does it actually show? So we can even give more detail here. If we look at the diagram, what does it show? Let's see if anybody has used the right vocabulary. So it's showing the hydrolytic cycle, which is, of course, also the water cycle in more simple terms. In nature, Satisfying Time says, sure. Remember your vocabulary here. For those of you who have access to our premium course, you should know this. It's showing the stages or the phases in the hydrolytic cycle. Okay, so that's some good vocabulary. So the process diagram depicts the phases or stages in the hydrolytic cycle. Right like that, you're going to be getting a band 9 with a little gold star by your name. Okay. So the process diagram depicts stages in the hydrolytic cycle. Can I add more information here, students, to this paraphrase of the question, to these details? So can I say even more? Can I make it even better? Aman Jump says, yes, you can. Yeah, of course. I usually ask rhetorical questions. Yeah, I can. What else can I add to this first sentence? Pachu says the start and end. I'm sure that I'm probably going to save Pachu until my analysis, so the body paragraph. This is just my overview, so I'm just paraphrasing with some details here. Yeah, Pachu, very good. Excellent. Good for you, Pachu. So Pachu says, the number of steps. Yeah, Vanity Sean, very good. Right, how many phases there are. It's your overview. Absolutely. So how many are there? There's precipitation, which is the rain, right? There's rock deep percolation. So I got 1, 2. There's evaporation, okay, which is 3. And then 4. Okay, so there's 4, maybe 5, depending on how you describe it. You might say that there's water collecting in groundwater or surface water. But definitely we got condensation 1, precipitation 2, rock deep percolation 3, evaporation 4. So we definitely have 4 clear steps that we can discuss. And this is your quantitative language. It's your numbers language. So the process diagram depicts the 4 stages in the hydrolytic cycle. Now, if you're writing, your essay and you realize that, oh, there's actually 5 or 6, don't worry. You can go back, put a little line through that and go 6 above it. Okay, so you can change that, but at least you got a number in there, which is excellent. The examiners are looking for that detailed quality. Okay, so the process diagram depicts 4 stages in the hydrolytic cycle. Okay, so far so good. Now notice the original. The diagram below shows the steps in the water cycle. The process diagram depicts 4 stages in the hydrolytic cycle. Look how much more advanced and detailed that is than this. Also notice that I didn't paraphrase below. Okay, when you're writing an essay, and students, please, this is for task 1 and task 2, don't refer to positions on the paper. So in task 1, don't write like the diagram below or the diagram above. Doesn't make sense. You have to imagine that the reader can't see the diagram. In your task 2, same thing. Don't refer to locations in your essay. So don't say, in my essay below, I will discuss. Duh, it's there. I can see it. I'm going to read it. It's obviously below what you're writing right now. You don't need to tell me. Okay, I don't want to sound rude or conceited, but it just looks weird when you're writing about where you're writing. Okay, so don't do that. Too many students, I find, are doing that, and it's not good quality writing. Okay, so that's just a little tip to remember for the future. Okay, I'll include that up here. So don't refer to locations in your writing. People only do that for really, really long essays, and I'm talking like 10-page essays. On page 4, I referred to the document as, but that's just because that's a long essay we might forget. But in short 1-page essays, we don't refer to locations. It's weird. Okay, so tip. And unnecessary. So do not refer to locations of diagrams and information in task 1 and 2 writing. Okay? In university, your professor will just be like, really? So definitely don't do it. Okay? All right. Back to point here. So here we're writing our overview. Okay, task 1, it's 3 paragraphs. The first is always the overview. The overview is the same as the introduction. Okay, the overview has these 2 sentences, basically 2 to 3 sentences. So first, paraphrase the question with more detail. Okay, so it's just what we did right now. All right, and then what's the next? Okay, again, Tuguldur, another point is don't talk about what your essay will talk about. Just talk about it. It's better communication. So what's next? I have my first sentence. The process diagram depicts 4 stages in the hydrolytic cycle. Fantastic. What do I do next? Tarun says, highlight the most important feature in the overview. Vanity Sean agrees. Vanity says, state the most obvious feature. Tell them what it is. Okay, sure. What is it, students? When we look at this, this diagram, what is the most obvious feature? What do we notice right away? Again, think simple. Maybe I'll darken the screen a tiny touch so it's a little bit clearer there. So Rishi says it's a cyclic process. Sure. Yeah, that's a good one. Alicia, thank you so much. Alicia says, thank you. Today I received my results. I got 6.5. It's because of your wonderful classes. Alicia, thank you for sharing. That's great. I think most students are still missing the... Yeah, there we go. Amarjeet says, how about looking at the big things. Jancy Hosey agrees. How about looking at the big pictures, right? When you're looking at a diagram, students, and you're observing the main features, look at what the biggest objects are in the diagram. Wham! There is our beautiful star called the sun. Absolutely, that's very noticeable. What else is noticeable? Wham! Wham! Some clouds in the sky. Those are pretty obvious. Anything else that jumps out at me when I look at this? Shwablammy! The ground. Okay. Those definitely look like some main features of this diagram. Without them, I'm not sure if there would be a hydrolytic cycle going on. So what are the key elements then? Right? What are the key elements to making this water cycle possible? The sun, the sky, the clouds, the ground, the surface, and water. Right? Those are the main players in this process. So let's write that. So write the sentence. So at first glance, it is clear that the main elements involved in the water cycle are the sun, water, clouds, and the ground. Okay? So that's what I would write as my main feature. Okay? And you can even write main feature. So if the question is asking you, summarize the main information or summarize the main features, sometimes the task 1 question is asking, you can absolutely write that to be very clear for the examiners. The main features of this diagram are the sun, the water, clouds, and the ground. That's band 8, band 9 writing for sure. Okay? So Danish is giving us an alternative. Danish says this given blueprint depicts the process of the water cycle with 5 different stages. Immediately, it is noticeable the 3 main processes are evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Danish, that's okay. Yeah, it's another approach. I would leave the actual steps to the analysis component, so to the body paragraph, and I would just name the main features or the main elements, which are the sun, the surface or the ground, and the sky, the clouds, the water. Tuguldur says, overall, objects such as the sun, clouds, surface, water plays a major role in the hydrolytic cycle. Tuguldur, perfect. That's great. That works absolutely fantastic. Okay. Pachu says, overall, it is clear that the sun, surface, water, cloud, and ground are the main attributes of the water cycle. Pachu, very nice. Beautiful use of the word attributes. Attributes are great because they attribute, right? They contribute, attribute. Very good use of the vocabulary, Pachu. Onisim says the sun's beams facilitates the water evaporation, which assures the continuity of water in nature. Ooh, Onisim, that's definitely information for the body paragraph, not the overview, or even the summary, Onisim. Okay? I would not throw that into the overview. It's too specific. It's too explanatory. Okay? Game Over is asking which is better, depicts or illustrates. In this case, both. Illustrations are drawings. Depictions are portrayals of pictures. So Game Over, in this case, depicts and illustrates are both very good choices for this diagram. Okay, so again, here it is. The process diagram depicts 4 stages in the hydrolytic cycle. At first glance, it is clear that the main elements involved in the water cycle are the sun, water clouds, and the ground. Okay, sure. So now I can write my analysis or my analyses. But before I do that, I should take one more step. What is that? What should I do? So before I start writing this body paragraph, what should I do? Pachu says number the main points. Yeah, absolutely. So especially when you have this kind of a cyclic process, it's a good idea to stop for a second and just identify where you will start. Okay? So you want to start with 1 and then move to 2. Where is a good place to start here? I mean, it is a cyclic process, so you can kind of start anywhere, but it might be easier to start at one position or another position. Where would be a good place to start the water cycle? Sheng Hung says maybe start from the surface water. Okay, so start from here. So Sheng Hung, I think what you're saying is that start from the surface water and then move into this direction. I agree, that's a very good starting point. That kind of involves the sun as well. So Jayaram Reddy says start from the sun. The sun and the surface water, they're connected in this step here. Okay, absolutely. So that's going to work well. I can see that some people are making some other suggestions. Evaporation, so that's all with this here. So this is all one beautiful step here, the surface water, evaporation, and the sun, right? This is all one step. Okay, great. Jabin, just one time. Don't convolute the chat, please. Okay, so just hit enter one time. Okay, so yeah, evaporation's a good start. And then, of course, we're going to move in this direction. You would not want to jump around. That would be a really bad idea. So we're going to go number 2 here, number 3 here, number 4 here, and maybe if you decided that there's 5 steps, maybe a number 5 there. So that would make sense for our process description or explanation. All right, students, I agree. Evaporation, let's start with that. So let's start with surface water, evaporation, the sun. Go for it. Give me the first sentence for your analysis. I'm going to write the first sentence in a minute as well. I'll give you a head start, and then we'll compare. So start writing this step number 1 for evaporation. Okay? Now, in the IELTS, it's very likely to get a diagram like this, maybe a little bit more complex, but you could easily get one on the water cycle. Maybe if you're doing paper-based, it'll be black and white, but nonetheless, very similar. Okay? So give me the first sentence. Okay, analysis. Okay. Beginning. All right. Keep it simple, not overdo it. There we go. There we have a lot of different responses. That's fantastic. So Nidhe says, firstly, the sun is heating up the surface water, which evaporates and rises towards the sky, forming clouds. Nidhe, I almost did the same thing with the forming clouds, but you do have to be careful. Always pay attention to the diagram here. It is forming the clouds. That's kind of almost more in step 2, condensation. So I decided to kind of save that, but yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, we can work with that. The Roxetha 28 says, water from the surface bodies get heated up with the help of the sun and begin evaporating. Very good, the Roxy. I made a few corrections. Notice those. White Dove says, it is clear that surface water is changed by the beams of the sun. Okay, White Dove, that's a little bit simple. You're missing vocabulary there. Tugul Dur says, first of all, everything begins at the surface water evaporating and turning into gas, vapor, due to the intense heat of the sun. Yes, Tugul Dur, it's okay. Tugul Dur, avoid words like everything. Okay? So, first of all, the cycle can begin at the surface water. Try not to use words like everything, students, because those words are kind of unclear, especially in academic writing. Okay, what do you mean everything? All right, Pachu says, in the initial stage of evaporation, or at the initial stage of evaporation, comma, the sun heats surface water, which then converts into vapor. Nice vocabulary, Pachu. Good for you. Okay. All right. Ankit Kamboj says, in the beginning, surface water is evaporated with the help of the sun's rays. So, Ankit, I would put sun apostrophe S rays to show the possession of those rays belonging to the sun. Okay. Useful for you says, we can see from the diagram that water vapor is generated with the help of sunshine in a process called evaporation. Useful for you, I get from your name that you really like exclaiming your truths and your ideas, which is fantastic, but don't use exclamation marks in task 1. So after sunshine, after evaporation, no exclamation marks. In task 1, students just put periods, and even in task 2, it's not the best idea to use exclamation marks. We're not really exclaiming anything in these 2 essays. Okay. No worries, Danish. Have an awesome rest of your day. Jancy Jose says, the surface water in the form of ponds, lakes, rivers, seas, and oceans during the day are heated by the rays of the sun and evaporate. These molecules are lightweight and move into the upper atmosphere. Okay, I made a few corrections there, Jancy, so pay attention to that, okay? All right, so Jung Min Yoon says, first of all, to create clouds, starting from oceans, pools, evaporation. Ooh, Jung Min, there's a lot of confusion there. You need to rephrase that. All right, students, not bad. Let's move to the next stage. So again, here's mine. Beginning with surface water, the rays of the sun evaporate the H2O molecules, which become lighter than air and move towards the upper atmosphere. Okay, fine. What happens in the upper atmosphere? So this stage here, okay? What's happening there? So this is our stage number 2. Let's discuss that. Okay. I'm going to write the sentence. I'll give you a little bit of a head start, and then we'll compare. I'll try to catch some other students that I didn't get last time. Okay. So let's move to stage, step, phase number 2. Here we go. Okay. All right. So that is my next sentence. Again, there's more than one way to skin the cat, as the idiom goes. It's one of the stranger idioms in English. More than one way to skin a cat means that there's more than one way to write this or express this. In fact, there are many more ways to do this. This is just one way. In the next phase, clouds form, which eventually cool and create. I don't want to repeat words, so I want to avoid repetition. Heavier rain clouds in a process known as condensation. Okay. All right. Amar Wadi says, at first glance, the sun heats up surface water, then it goes up into the air. In the second stage, the atmosphere carries the water through the sky in the form of clouds. Amar, not bad. There's definitely some missing words there. And Amar, don't jump to the future tense, will carry. This is a general truth. It's happened for millions of years in the past, billions. It will happen, hopefully, for millions, billions into the future. So use present tense, okay? It's a general statement, general identification here, all right? Okay, students, how's the screen right now? Is it really dark? I just want to make sure that you can see the diagram here. So how's the brightness? Do you want me to make it a little bit brighter so you can see my face, the writing clear, or is it okay right now? Just let me know, and then I'll keep looking at some of your responses here. Okay. Roshni says, initially, the active sun makes the H2O hot. Consequently, the water is turned into vapor and rises into the cloud or into the sky. Roshni, don't use the word stream. Okay, it doesn't stream. It evaporates. Okay, use the word evaporation. Use the terms that are given by the diagram. Okay. Shivam Podel says the cloud gets cooler and leads to the formation of heavier rain clouds during the process of condensation. Shivam, that's good. Not heavier rain, but heavier rain clouds. Okay, rain and rain clouds are almost the same, but not quite. Charlie Sen says vaporized water molecules then grab the dust particles from the atmosphere and form a cloud, a condensed form of vapor. Thank you for that enlightenment, Charlie. Absolutely, this is true, that rain requires dust particles for the H2O molecules to adhere to stick to. Absolutely. Okay. Nidhe says the vapor becomes cooler as it rises into the atmosphere, eventually forming clouds. As it becomes cooler yet, these turn into rain clouds. Nidhe, I made some corrections there. Tarun, please use lowercase letters, otherwise it seems like you're shouting at me. Don't shout at me. Surya, thank you for answering my question. So the brightness is okay. All right, fantastic. I'm trying some new settings, so thank you for that. Okay. Tarun says the water vapor reaches the upper atmosphere where the process of condensation begins, which is the formation of clouds eventually turning into rain clouds. Tarun, you need to finish that idea. Okay. All right. Let's see. Sheng Hung says at the second stage, the H2O molecules gather in the higher atmosphere. After cooling down, they turn into clouds in a process called condensation. Sheng Hung, not bad, a little bit awkward in the phrasing. That's why I made some corrections. Gustavo Fernandez says in the next phase, due to condensation, the water molecules which have gone through evaporation before are now transformed into clouds, eventually forming rain clouds. Very good. Okay. Anais is saying, greetings from Lingoda. Anais, I'm happy you were able to join in on this live class. Welcome. All right. So, here we are at the stage of condensation. Now, let's describe this next stage of precipitation. So this is our third stage. Again, students, you do have to be careful not to jump too far ahead. Some of you were already describing the rain. You don't want to do that. You want to save that for your step number 3. Okay, so we still have a few steps to go. You still have time. I'll give you a little bit of a head start. All right, my sentence for step number 3, and then we will compare. Okay, here we go. All right. So there is my description for the third step in this phase. So here we go. In the third step, and it's good to refer to your stages once or twice through the essay in number form so that your reader, in this case the examiner, realizes that, hey, okay, this student or this candidate does have a good idea of where they are in this diagram and where they are going. So it's an important part of coherent description, okay? So in the third step, once the rain clouds have reached a critical mass, this is an additive clause. It's a cause and effect. Once the rain clouds have reached a critical mass, it's a dependent clause. So I have a comma. The water falls back to the ground in droplets through the act of precipitation. Okay? Again, make sure that you use the vocabulary given to you in the diagram. Okay? All right. David Valencia says, once clouds are formed through condensation stage, comma, nice grammar, David, the temperature has influenced over water that is contained in the white gases. That is unclear, David. I see what you're trying to say, but you're not saying that clearly. So the cloud temperature is affected um, with white gas. As a result, precipitation takes place in the water cycle, becoming falling rain. Okay, something like that, David, I think is more accurate. Amarjeet, in task 1, you need 3 paragraphs usually for those high bands. You need the overview, an analysis, and maybe a summary if you have time, okay? Charlie says, due to the temperature gradient in the atmosphere, the clouds become more condensed and eventually become rain clouds. Next, vapor molecules join and form heavy water droplets, which can then fall in the form of rain through precipitation. Okay, Charlie, not bad. Obviously, you have some good knowledge of the water cycle, which is definitely to your advantage in this kind of an essay. All right. Amira Sadek says, in the third stage, the water showers down to the ground as soon as the condensed clouds approach a certain density. Amira, really nice, okay? I love your use of vocabulary there. Some great academic wording with using density, okay? Shower down is a really nice descriptive language. It's very visual, okay? Really good, all right? Excellent. Shakrani Nima Tula is asking, what if we have more than 10 steps? I mean, if we repeat over and over, will it be too repetitive? Yes, Shakrani, absolutely. So you need to be cautious of how you're describing. You don't want your steps to continuously overlap. Otherwise, you will run out of time and your essay quality will decrease. So there should be clear linking between the steps. You shouldn't have gaps and you shouldn't have overlaps either, okay? Well-written process essays, the information is adjoined in nice, succinct points, one after the next. That was a very good question, and I hope that most of you picked up what I was saying there. Okay, thank you for that question, Shakrani. That was very good. Okay. All right. So, students, we have a little bit more to go here. I'm going to describe this as one step. You might want to do it as 2. So we have this deep rock percolation. We have groundwater, and we have surface water as well. So you could split that into 2. I'm going to do it in one step. That'll be my 4th and final step. Go ahead and write this last stage of the water cycle in your own words. I will give you a little bit of a head start here as well while I erase the board, and then give you my sentence also. Here we go. All right. This is what I have, and let's compare it with what you write in a moment. In the fourth and final stage of the water cycle, raindrops are either gathered underground through deep rock percolation or on the surface in ponds, lakes, rivers, and oceans. Once more, this water is ready to be evaporated by sunshine, and so the hydrolytic cycle continues. All right, so that's my final step. Notice how here I'm using a correlative conjunction. Sometimes you'll have this when you get a cyclical diagram in the IELTS exam where you have this kind of round and round it goes type of diagram. You'll have parts where it splits into two. So here you have this split with the surface water and you have this split with the groundwater. So this is where you can use the terms either or, all right? And that's really nice to have that correlative conjunction applied in task 1. Those will get you marks, okay? It's nice emphasis, it's nice control of language. So make a note of that, students, that's good to have. All right, let's see what some other students wrote. Here we go. I'm going to scroll back up a little bit. Let's start with Frey. So Frey says, some of the rain that falls down will directly sink into the ground, and the remainder will become water bodies to continue the water cycle. Yeah, Frey, it's not bad, but definitely remember to mention each of the named steps. So here it's deep percolation or rock deep percolation. Make sure to mention that, okay? So use the information given. In this task 1, in a good task 1, that's high band, I should see all of these words somewhere in your writing, okay? And of course, I should see all of the words for these images here as well. So definitely these words should appear in a band 7, 8, 9 task 1. Okay. All right. Niha Wase says, we can say, therefore, when the water gets collected in water bodies, it is ready once again for a vicious cycle. Okay, Niha, careful with your repetition of water, water, water. You don't want to repeat the same noun over and over. Even if you just use a paraphrase like H2O or aqua, it sounds better. Okay. Shivam Podel says the process ends through rainwater being stored underground, either through deep rock or on the surface in ponds, lakes, and even oceans, which leads the water to be eventually evaporated with the help of sunshine. Okay, not bad, not bad. Aman Jam says eventually raindrops are transferred into the ground through deep rock percolation. Yes, or rock deep percolation, sure. That's good. Nishit Christian says saltwater intrusion is shown to take place just before groundwater passes into the oceans to complete the cycle. I'm not sure about the saltwater intrusion. I don't see that myself, but it's arguable. If there was a word here that said ocean, then maybe that would make sense. But otherwise, I think that you're putting information which is not clearly shown in the diagram. Careful with that. Okay. All right, students. So you've done a fantastic job so far. Now, if you've reached 20 minutes of writing, then you should stop and go to task 2. If you still have 4 or 5 minutes remaining, then it is a good idea to write a summary. Okay? Now, in the summary, don't create an opinion. Like, don't say things like, it is the hydrolytic cycle which makes life on Earth possible. We don't know that. We don't see little rabbits running around. Okay, we see a couple of plants, some greenery, but that's an assumption. Nowhere in this diagram does it actually explain that life springs from the water cycle, even though it's true. We don't actually see that, so we can't assume that. Now, you want your summary to be a little bit different than your overview, so it's not just a repeat of your overview. It's something that we can clearly see or learn from this diagram, okay? So I'll give you an example summary, and then in the future, you can try this at home. So in summary, the hydrolytic cycle is clearly a continuous process which requires various elements to exert okay, so that would be my summary. You could write this in simpler terms or using simpler vocabulary. In summary, the hydrolytic cycle, so the water cycle, is clearly a continuous process, so that round and around, which requires various elements, so it needs different parts, okay, like the sun, the clouds, the ground. To exert interaction, it means to interact with water molecules, right? So you need the sun, you probably need wind, which we didn't talk about, you need the ground, you need gravity, of course, that we didn't mention as well, but those are the different interactions that are required for this process, okay? So here is the complete essay. Let's read it together, make sure it makes sense, make sure that we didn't make any big mistakes. The process diagram depicts 4 stages in the hydrolytic cycle. At first glance, it is clear that the main elements involved in the water cycle are the sun, water, clouds, and the ground. Beginning with surface water, the rays of the sun evaporate the H2O molecules, which become lighter than air and move towards the upper atmosphere. In the next phase, clouds form, which eventually cool and create heavier rain clouds in a process known as condensation. In the third step, once the rain clouds have reached a critical mass, the water falls back to the ground in droplets through the act of precipitation. In the fourth and final stage of the water cycle, raindrops are either gathered underground through rock deep percolation or on the surface in ponds, lakes, rivers, and oceans. Once more, this water is ready to be evaporated by sunshine, and so the hydrolytic cycle continues. In summary, the hydrolytic cycle is clearly a continuous process which requires various elements to exert interaction with H2O molecules. Right like that, you will certainly get a nice high band the next time you sit your IELTS exam. Students, that's all the time I have for this class. I will post this essay on the community board. For lots more essays, examples, writing help, as well as help with other sections of the exam, spend a few dollars. Gain the best help that you can for the academic at aehelp.com, for the general at gieltshelp.com. Those websites look like this. Over 100 hours of video lessons, fully interactive course, step-by-step learning. The academic looks like this with the blue background. You are very welcome. Hikmatillo, Rihan, you're welcome. Also, tomorrow I will be back at the same time with another class. Make sure to tune in and stay confident, practice lots. You're all brilliant people with beautiful minds. Keep up the good work and have a great rest of your day, or sweet dreams if it's late and you're getting ready for bed. Bye for now.